What's up, guys? Sub-Zeric here, back for another VOD review, and we are seeing something pretty crazy on the ladder in TFT right now. We haven't, had teams in TFT until this set with the Esports World Cup, and, all these people are studying together and teaming up together. But look at top 5 of the ladder right here. Vitality Soju, Vitality Setsuko, Vitality Prestivent, Vitality Milk, and Vitality Toronto Tokyo. Spots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is like, this is incredible. For those who aren't aware, Soju, Setsuko, Milk, and Toronto Tokyo, I believe, are in Europe prepping together for Esports World Cup, and Prestivent is actually streaming his own POV. All of those other players aren't really streaming that much. Soju, I believe, streamed yesterday, but he's not really streaming today yet. And like Setsuko's not streaming, Toronto Tokyo's not streaming, I believe. Milk, I don't think is streaming either. So we get a nice little insight into Team Vitality by watching Prestivent, because he's the only one who's streaming. He's not actually going to be competing because he didn't have enough points to qualify for it. It was kind of, a weird system. But Prestivent obviously still doing very well on the ladder, and I mean, shout outs to Team Vitality, man. Like those guys came in with a meta read, or they've been prepping their meta read or something. I'm sure they've been working with each other. I mean, the top players in TFT already have a decent advantage when they have these kind of half, not how far are we into the video, half something approach to studying the game, where they just kind of work with each other every once in a while and hop in a call. But those guys are all sitting back, all in the same room playing TFT with each other, sharing tech back and forth, saying, oh, this version of this comp is good, this version of this comp is not bad, these items are good, these items are not bad, augments, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it is quite special to watch. So let's watch some Prestivent. He gets a pretty bad smattering of early augments here. This upward mobility one, I don't believe is that good. Let's pull up the augment stats real quick, because he insta-rolled that. Yeah, upper mobility, 4.6, not amazing. Lucky Gloves at 2-1 tends to not be very good. The best one we can take here is actually Multi-Striker Crown. The problem is we don't actually have the opener for it. Multi-Striker Crown, statistically a 4.26, gives you a Quicksilver, which is fantastic for Kassadin, but like I said, the big issue is that we don't have any multi-strikers right now. Even with the emblem and the Kassadin, it's possible that we wouldn't have 3 multi to start the game off, and we're just not really in a good spot to play Kassadin, right? Our item components aren't that good. This glove you would normally want to build towards a QSS, but you're getting the Quicksilver from multi-crown, so you have no Gwinzel component and no BT component. I guess you could make Hodge, which is probably slightly worse than BT, but then you still have no Gwinzel component, so it doesn't seem great. Maybe if we had an Ashe 2 or a Jax 2 or something like that. And so then Caretaker's Chosen is kind of the default option. The problem is that this augment's not great either. 4.71 average placement. And I'm down to look at the Lotus here. Lotus 5.30 according to Tactics.tools. The stats usually hate an augment like this early, just because you don't have that much damage to crit on. Crit tends to be better late game when you're doing big damage, and then you crit and it does even bigger damage. So Prestivent's actually in kind of a rough spot from here. He could risk it for the biscuit, roll Caretakers, and hope to get something better, but Prestivent just decides to take the more consistent option here and just take Caretakers here, which I think is good. Yeah, he looks up the stats here and is like, oh my god, the stats are so bad on it, but it's good enough. It's not so bad that, it's going to lose you the game or anything like that. So I like the Caretakers here. We go for the coin flip and miss. And you can also see that Prestivent is holding an opener that, really, he really likes to lean into these type of units. Syndra, I think, is a unit that, after watching a lot of Prestivent's VODs so far, Syndra is a unit that he will never sell early. I guess maybe if he had only AD items, if he had to play AD, he wouldn't hold Syndra. But this guy is holding onto Syndra for dear life, and every time he plays the game, he is really, really looking to hold towards this Eldritch plus Syndra opener, and then these other guys as well, Witchcraft in as well, because Prestivent really likes playing towards either a Syndra reroll or some type of Karma comp. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is the new school version of Karma, because that's the most obvious thing for Prestivent to play in this scenario. You could say, oh, well, we have a Syndra, we have Cassiopeia pair, why would we, not angle towards Syndra, Cassiopeia reroll? The problem is our augment, right? This is an augment that spikes really hard when you push levels, and when you're playing reroll and you're stuck on level 6, you're just not going to get much value out of this augment. So yeah, Prestivent's going to start off with a relatively not amazing start here. If our idea, and it certainly should be our idea that we play towards Karma, though obviously we're scouting, we already see one person. This person already has Karma from, I forget what this augment's called, but it's the one that opens up a shop with just 4 costs in it, and then you can pick the ones that you want to buy. It's kind of interesting, kind of an interesting take on that I forget what the augment was called. They gave you a 4 cost and then get you a repeat one and a repeat one and a repeat one. Look, I'm farming YouTube commenters to tell me what it's called. But that person has a karma, not the end of the world though, one-way contested karma. So on carousel here, we have a few options, right? We have belt and tier open. Karma's BIS is certainly blue buff Morello and then like +1. Prestivent opts to go for the tier here. I like this because we've already got dropped a tier this game. So it's actually like less likely that we're going to see more tiers down the line just because of how item economy works, how the bags of items work. So it's best to finish this blue buff here and then, care later about just finding a rod because we haven't seen a rod yet. So it's reasonable that we find a rod. We're also on a pretty intense loss streak here, 3 loss here, and we scout here and see that Setsuko is also on a pretty bad loss streak here, though Setsuko is actually much more committed to actually playing the Cinder reroll. He's taken the Incanter +1, which is really good with Cinder reroll, and he also isn't burdened by the fact that he has an augment that makes him push levels. He really wants to. And look at this, Cinder pair and Cassiopeia pair here. So Prestivent says, okay, Setsuko 83 HP, also on a 3 loss streak here. I have to make sure that I lose to him. And Setsuko is going to do a similar thing here because these two players really need to loss streak. I love this from Prestivent here, and it's actually crazy that we got the charm that shows us our next opponent as well, but he scouts Setsuko the entire time, and the second Setsuko starts selling board, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to start selling board even harder. The second he sees that unit get sold, he says, you know what, I can just sell almost my entire board, because look at this, Setsuko's forced to hold some of these units, right? There's no way if Setsuko's playing Cinder Reroll that he's going to not hold Cinder pair or Cassiopeia pair here. So, and he wants to hold the 4th Incanter as well. So we actually end up in a really good spot here where we're allowed to full open here because we only really care about these units. Obviously, holding that other stuff is nice, but we don't care so much about it because we're not playing reroll. And so we actually get to full open into Setsuko, grief his loss streak here, and continue ours. So high quality, just clean TFT from Prestivent here. And it really just came down to the fact that we could do that because of our position. And Setsuko ended up in kind of an awkward spot where he kind of couldn't full open there. The only thing he could have maybe done is sold the Ziggs as well, but then he still would have won that fight just because he had to field 4 units essentially, unless he went to like sell Cassios, which seems crazy in his spot. But yeah, we're gonna lose that fight. We can't kill a single unit versus this board, which makes sense, and so we're gonna lose another fight. 5 loss streak here, 71 HP, and overall pretty happy with the spot. We can put together an okay board here of Eldritch plus Shapeshifter and live with that. And this Cassiopeia tends to just fit beautifully onto this board. If you can end up finding a Nico, you feel chef's kiss. But the idea is that we are going to push levels pretty aggressively. We can make the blue buff here. And the main thing is just getting us stable enough that we don't die, right? We want to make sure we have a board that doesn't just have us dying next stage, because currently our board's not that good. We don't have many 2-stars. Well, we don't have any 2-stars really. Itemization wise, the Morello, like I talked about, is Karma's BIS, so it's a really good slam here. The question is then, what are you making after that Morello? Because there's actually like a ton of different options here. Gargoyle tends to be a priority, I think, for most people when they're playing this comp, but I see a lot of people building towards Gargoyle here. Nashers, I believe, is pretty good on Karma. I think Prestivent said he only looked at the stats earlier today, so honestly, we can just front run his ability to look at stats by looking at them during the game. So Karma 2, statistically, if you look at all the other items, the Nashor's Tooth looks okay. Rabadon seems to be one of the better ones. Witchcraft +1 is fantastic if you can get to it. Red buff actually looks even better than Morello, which is really surprising to me. I guess it's not that surprising when you think about the fact that she's already getting AP from Chrono and Incanter. So actually, Morello is probably worse than Red buff, which is interesting. GS, slightly positive delta, Adapticone, good. Guardbreaker actually looks surprisingly good, though once you get to these really low play rate type items, it tends to get a little strange. So certainly seems like the best ones are the ones like Nashers seems fine, Rabadons, Archangels, GS, and like Guardbreaker seems solid. You really don't want to build a JG, it looks like, according to the statistics, maybe just because you don't get to high enough AP totals that you're very happy to build it. But yes, the Morello looks pretty good. So we then have to consider like frontline items and then what our backline items look like. And then also what that does to our item economy, right? We don't really want to build a Nashers here, even though it's a good item, because it's going to get rid of our Giant's Belt. And what we want to do here is go tank item out of this cloak. So use the cloak to build some kind of tank item, and then use some of these other items to make damage items, and then use this Giant's Belt to make another tank item. So I like the GS here, and I was thinking GS plus Gargoyle here in this situation. here, and then you keep the belt open, you keep glove open as well for maybe something. The only downside with this is that it kills your shred component. You don't get to make like an ionic spark here. I think ionic spark would be a really obvious slam here. But Prestivent does something interesting. He goes for the declaw here, which I didn't expect, and I don't completely understand his priority on declaw here over something like a gargoyle. But I think the further we get into the game, the more it kind of starts to make sense. I will say I have watched this VOD before because I was VOD reviewing Prestivent all today. Third augment here, none of these look amazing. Maybe you could take roll the dice because there's just a lot of solid units you can fit onto this board. Dark Alley Dealings, actually, I haven't looked at the stats of this augment. So Dark Alley Dealings, ooh, 4.84, yucky, very bad. This augment was kind of strong on PBE, so I think they nerfed it, and now it's quite bad. So yeah, we reroll these. We get the option to pick up New Recruit, Buried Treasures, or Invested. I think the obvious choice here is New Recruit. We're pretty good on items. We don't really need more items, and Buried Treasures 3-2 isn't amazing. And Invested is like kind of similar to New Recruit in that it's going to give us the ability to find more units. But New Recruit 1, it's really good because it gives us that fun effect that you get a max team size, and this is a board where you can fit infinite units. There's so many +1s that you can fit on this board. And then it also gives you the duplicator. Karma is probably the most contested 4 cost in the game right now. Actually, I think the stats say it's Rakan, who we do end up picking up, just because Rakan fits on like every board. And oh, the other reason to not take Buried Treasures is we're getting items from this as well. Like, we're getting a full item here from this, and then we're gonna get a Radiant item stage 4. So we really don't need components here. We really just need units to use those components. Off this, I think Redemption is the easy choice here. I don't think any of these really do anything. Maybe at Thieves' Clubs, but Redemption for the Rakan feels really good here. But yeah, the duplicator is really nice because this is such a contested comp. This is going to help us actually get to 2 stars. You know, it's much easier to pick up 2 karmas and then duplicate than, you know, have to find that 3rd karma. And now that we have this Rakan, I can start talking about this comp more generalistically. Generally is the real word. You just pick this up for free econ, by the way. It's, how much gold is this, by the way? Is that 12 gold? I mean, it just depends on how many 1 costs there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's 14 gold. This charm just says gain 4 gold and get any 1 cost that you want. Wow, this shit is broken. But the thing I wanted to talk about in regards to this comp is I think the version that we played on PBE of this comp has actually, after the first day and after people have played more, has really turned out to not actually be the strongest version of this comp. I think a lot of people were really drawn to this 4 chrono version of the comp because it looks really pretty. You know, like the synergies fill out very well, and it makes sense. You know, you're playing Karma, you get 4 chrono, she stuns the entire board with chrono, and it feels really good. Nasus Hero's Giant Spell looks really juicy. It's a Warmogs, and it's also a Nasus, which continues to bridge my point. Many people are actually not playing the 4 chrono version of the comp, and they're fitting really just anything else. You can fit Mage, you can fit Preserver, you can fit Shapeshifter with Nasus. You can really, you can fit Witchcraft, like, and Fiora, which also bridges into the Nasus as well. There's so much that you can play on this comp, and so we've seen a lot over the past few days, just a priority away from actually, well, the past few days, I say like the past 24 hours, I guess, since the set has been out a little bit longer than 24, but like the past 30 hours or something, we've seen a shift away from the 4 chrono version and actually towards these other versions, the Preserver version, the Mage version without chrono, which it's really just, if you're playing mages, you're playing Vex, and if you're playing Preservers, you're playing Zillion, and if you get to late game and you have like a Camille 2 with items, then you can consider 4 chrono, because then it becomes really good, right? But if you are just rolling on 8, it's very unlikely that you're going to find a Camille 2 with items. Maybe if you have a Camille 1 with BIS, you can think about it. But yeah, it's just the value of chrono is just not that high when you're only really carrying the karma. It's just not good enough compared to the other stuff that you can play. The statistics also bear this out, actually. I can pull this up because I think it's helpful, and this is how you can do some statistical analysis yourself. Go to Explorer on Tactics Type Tools, pull up Karma. It's really easy. Just look at Karma 2, and then go to Traits and type in Chrono. And you can see, look at this stark delta. 2 Chrono is a negative 0.07 delta, and if you guys don't know, if you don't know TFT stats work, delta is essentially how much better Karma performs when you put these things in. So on average, Karma is a 3.63. When you put 2 Chrono in, she gets a little bit better. She would move up to a 3.54. That was not correct, 3.56. Quick incorrect maths. So she gets 0.07 placements better. Look at the 4 chrono, almost 3/10 of a placement you lose by playing 4 chrono. So statistics just say that 2 chrono is better than 4 chrono. Now, this isn't perfect. This doesn't mean that you never play 4 chrono or anything like that. And you can see 6 chrono looks really juicy. If you can get like a chrono +1. So that's certainly something that you can look at. But you can use things like this to understand, okay, it looks like Karma's actually just kind of weak with 4 chrono. You can also look into the units and start to see some of the stuff. Zillion has a positive delta. It's interesting that Rakan has a positive delta as well. I don't know how to explain away that. But Vex also has a positive delta. So it really shows that you really want to be playing not too many of these chrono units, and you really want to be playing more of this stuff. The stats say that you really want to be playing stuff like Fiora, stuff like Nasus, stuff like Nico. You could even, if you really want to, like sort for some stuff, you can remove Witchcraft Emblem, but still the statistics say stuff like Fiora, Nasus is good, Syndra tends to be the one you want to play, but Cassiopeia is okay as well. So this is how you can start to figure these things out in TFT, by looking at statistics and also just, watching streams like this, watching Prestivent and seeing what versions of the comp he plays. If you don't want to delve into stats, then you can do that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Prestivent's spot here is, I think someone in his Twitch chat was like, "You're going 8th, buddy?" And he was like, "No, my spot's actually kind of good. It's just that I have no HP." And he's right? 29 HP is horrible here, obviously, but we have a lot of stuff here. And also, this really, really throws a wrench into the plans here. We're getting a support item and a tome here, which is, this kind of means that we have to level and roll this round because we need at least a round to get tome. Our first shop, let's actually bring it down to 1x speed because our first shop is insane here. The Morgana plus the Yuumi, these are both units that you tend to really, really want to play here. He actually almost picks up a turtle. President's face here. He almost accidentally picks up Eternal Winter because he forgot that he went 8, so he's getting the Radiant item here. I think Blue Blessing is pretty good. You could maybe even think about Serax Mega Shield, but Blue Blessing's good. You can just use you can move the regular blue buff to another unit and then put the Blue Blessing onto Karma here, so I think this makes sense. So we need to pick something. You hold the Taric here for extra frontline. These units, I don't think there's anything you really want to hold. Maybe the Syndra. I don't like holding this Rise, but Prestivent wants to go for it because he's, I don't know, a flex beast. He did actually play a game of Rise Gary earlier today, and he managed to transition Rise into Xerath, but the rounds he had Rise in were horrible. I think I want to hold Galio here and then pick up all 4s. Looks like we're not even gonna hold that. We do finally pick up the Karma here, which is big. Now we can consider getting the Karma in here. Gonna get this stuff in. Gonna get Preserver in. We do have a Zillion in, so we can play around this version of the board. We don't have Bastion in yet. You don't really want to be playing this, right? This thingy needs to come out. We would need a 4th Witchcraft if we want to play like that kind of thing. But I mean, yeah, we can just get Nora and Yuumi in for now, and then Ashe is the last kind of garbage unit that we have in here. So yeah, something like a 4 Witchcraft, a Preserver. Which one are we missing? We're missing Bard right now. Even a random Fairy, though. Callista doesn't look great. You could probably even hold the Taric here, just for maybe some kind of frontline, but obviously, I get the benefit of being able to pause here. He throws in a 2nd Nico here, which, such is life. Open support item here, and we're trying to put items down. Prestivent actually doesn't end up getting support item down this round. I think Zephyr. That's my quick sneeze break for you guys, sorry. I think Zephyr's the best one here. We sadly can't get it done this round, and we're going to put these items onto Karma. Blue buff is going to go onto the Nora, and then we have Spark open here, which is really, really good because yeah, I mean, Spark is good. So yeah, we do this, pick up the Zephyr here, and I think it's pretty reasonable. Transition for us. The only downside is actually, look how this fight's going. Our board's not too bad, but we're actually fighting a pretty strong board with Jinx 3 on the board, so we really need to transition this next round. 19 HP, and we need a good charm. We're also going to have to pop this and see what it gives us. I'm actually a little surprised how Prestivent does this. He actually rolls first and then pops this. I would have popped this first and then rolled, but I think he just didn't want to waste the time on having to choose emblem. He knows that he can do that during fight. And he really just wants to take a good augment here, any good enough augment, because he needs the time, right? I think Martyr is fantastic here, so I don't think you need to worry too much about anything here. So yeah, the Martyr pickup is good. There's Fiora for 4 Witch if we want to play it. We don't have a Witchcraft spat, so 4 Witchcraft is pretty mediocre. If anything, we're probably going to get out of this. I mean, no, we're still playing 3. So the question is just, what is our board going to become? And we'll see how Prestivent plays this out, how he transitions this. We do have 4 Preserver here, which seems huge to play here. There's another Nasus, which is really, really nice. He's going to continue to roll down, and then once he gets 0 gold, he's going to sort of take stake in his board, something quite like that. I don't know what word I'm trying to say. But you can see, right? We have the Karma in. we have the Zillion in, but 4 Chrono is nowhere near being played on our board. We're not trying to hold stuff like Jax. We're not trying to hold stuff like Vex. Vex can, of course, be played, but we didn't see that many Vexes, so we're not trying to play for 4 Chrono. We're just trying to play good synergies. Look, we're holding on to this Tahm Kench even, with the idea of potentially getting Arcana in here as just like a +1. Because, yeah, we're trying to figure out what actually goes best on our board here. I guess it's... But, yeah, like, look at this, right? Arcana here? Yeah, okay. So we're going to play this Arcana on our board. He's saying, okay, I'm down to get out of that Arcana and then into this setup here. We have Emilio that we can play on this board right now. You'd also really like to fit Bastion. Nami, once again, we're not really playing the mage version, so it's kind of hard to play Nami, but that is a version that you can play. But I think the most obvious in here is just for Preserver, right? To get the Bard in, and the idea is we could get Emilio in down the line. We just have to figure out how Emilio fits onto this board. Because, yeah, I think Emilio is obviously a fantastic unit. I think I would rather just play for Preserver right now, but, I mean, obviously this is a hard pivot to make. And we're going to throw the Selector onto the Thomas Kench here, which I think makes a lot of sense. He is pretty tanky. We continue to roll down. There is a Hecarim, too, that we could buy, but I don't think we sell anything for it. So, yeah. Actually, he sells it to pick up the Arcana, which I think is reasonable. And we get Preserver Emblem, which is one of the best emblems in the game, so we just take that, and it feels good. But yeah, he sells Bard for it, which is so shocking to me. But obviously Emilio is like an insanely broken unit, so it makes sense. We actually, sadly, don't get our Zephyr down this fight either, but we still win this fight. And now our pivot is mostly done. We're just in the phase where we're looking for 2 stars at this point. But yeah, like, this is a pretty good example of a 4 Preserver and more vertical Preserver board. We could actually be playing 5 Preserver, and he opts to actually get out of the Hecarim at this point so that he can get Scholar in off of the Ahri, which is a cute way to fit the synergy in. But yeah, like, this is a good example of what the board will look like. You'll play Arcana, you'll play Preserver. If we had hit something like a Nasus too, we could have easily played Nasus plus the Nico, which would have also got us Witchcraft in. Like, there's a lot of different versions you can play there. Like, if we had hit Nami, and like we have the Nora for Mage, so like if we had hit Nami and like maybe Vex too, we could have played around Vex. It's a very, very flexible comp, but the big idea is that we're just not playing around 4 Chrono here, which was interesting to me. We're gonna pick up Tahm Kench here. Tahm Kench the second here, because it's a pretty good unit to fit onto our board. So I like this. And it's also a Steadfast Heart, which is more frontline, which is kind of what we need here. So yeah, I like this. But yeah, of course, we're going to continue to roll down every round because we need to pick up big upgrades. Hitting the Rakantu is huge for us here, and there's the Bard. He considers this. He considers this back and forth. Because how much HP is Thomas Kench actually giving? I believe he hovers it here. It's giving 140 HP to our entire team. I feel like 5 Preserver has to be better than this. But Prestivent makes the call for a while that Ahri's better here, which is quite surprising to me. I feel like it's not close in my head, but maybe I'm just thinking about this in the wrong way. We do decide to make the Steadfast Heart because it's a good tank item. We're going to throw it into Tahm Kench, which is a little unfortunate because Tahm Kench is not really a tank. I think I've had this discussion before, but the easiest way to think about it is Tahm Kench is like Nautilus from last set. You don't really like putting tank items onto him. He is more of just a utility unit, and something like a Vow would be good on him, but you really do not want to you know, make a triple item Tahm Kench with tank items. That is one of the worst things that you can do, just because he's not very tanky. We continue to roll. We pick up a Charm this round, and we pick up the Karma. So now, very, very close. 19 HP, but we've hit the entire board, and boy, does this board look good. We decide to finally get the 5 Preserver in over the Ahri because we think better of it. And yeah, we're just trying to position Zephyr at this point, which we missed this fight, but it's all good. This Rakan with 5 Preserver in is going to be a monster. He also has the Warmogs in, which just gives him even more HP to preserve up. So yeah, this guy is insane. We have the Emilio in, who's Fairy and Scholar because we have the Bard in and the Rakan in. And he's got the Preserver +1, which is really, really nice on him. He's got such a big mana pool that Preserver, giving him that extra mana, feels amazing. And now this is just our board. Yeah, we can just play this board, look to level down the line. We also get, like, I didn't even know this was a Mythic Orb possibility, but that is crazy, by the way. Opt to make Gunblade here on the Morgana because we're thinking of double duping the Morgana, which I think is a beautiful call here. And then we just take Bramble Vest, throw it onto frontline. But yeah, I mean, I love this. Gunblade Morgana. She's going to be doing okay damage, especially when we 2-star her, because, I mean, at the end of the day, we just want to itemize our preservers, right? Nora is a fantastic item holder, but this Morgana is going to be getting so much mana, so much HP. Look, she's our second most damage dealt easily here, easily. So it makes sense. When you're playing Vertical Preserver, you want to itemize your preservers. But you guys can see the power of this board, the power of just a Rakan frontline. Even this Tahm Kench here, who's just sitting on the board. He is no trait, but he's just a Tahm Kench here. Yeah, actually, this is an interesting call here. Would you rather do this? And Prestivent makes the call to actually get off of the Nora here and get into the Ahri here just to get Arcana on the board. And he actually has this blue buff sitting on Nora on bench, which I think is my biggest objection to this play, because I think his idea is that he wants to keep Nora in on like level up, but he wants to play Arcana for now, which is kind of wild to me. And yeah, now he's gonna level get this back in. And if you're curious why Nora with no real synergies in, we don't have Mage in on this board, it's just that because we get a Yuumi. And a Yuumi onto our backline carry is fantastic. It's gonna keep Karma alive. It's also gonna give Karma more AP to play with. So it's just this Nora unit is just fantastic. It is a fantastic +1. Nora's like almost like threat level. Maybe not even almost, just is straight up like threat level, where you can just play Nora without any synergies. I mean, that's what we're doing here. Yeah, I actually heard something interesting. I haven't tested it myself, but I heard in our study group that if you put Mage in, it actually decreases Yuumi's AP, but like Yuumi doesn't like double cast from Mage, so something interesting there, where if you're not really itemizing Nora, then it doesn't actually make sense to get Mage in, because you're actually making Yuumi a little bit weaker, which is kind of hilarious. I think I have another sneeze coming. Oh, can I avoid it? How long can I commentate? The Redemption is a decent item take. I'm actually kind of surprised by it, but you know, it's whatever. Double Redemption, who cares? And we do finally get the Xerath in here. We are still selecting the Tahm Kench here, which I think the later you get in the game tends to not be so good. But the idea on this board, I didn't even talk about this, but like Prestivent playing this board kind of like aha moment that like made me realize that the reason why he prioritizes Arcana so high, especially in the mid game, is because Tahm Kench is giving AP to our entire, or HP to our entire board, and Preserver, you know, scales off that HP. But obviously, once you get late, I don't know how many charms we have. It has to be Xerath, especially because Xerath is amping up ability damage, and our whole team is ability damage. But Tahm Kench can be a really nice Arcana to just kind of like bridge the gap for a while, get that extra HP onto your entire board. You get a decent amount of traits just kind of like naturally playing a lot of these Preserver units. Like Fairy comes in very naturally, Chrono comes in, Scholar comes in. Obviously, you're playing Arcana and Encanter, so you know it makes sense that you get a decent number of synergies in for the Tahm Kench. But yeah, I mean, you can see 19 HP, but we're on a 9 streak now. We hit this Karma, and we are cruising to a top 4 on what I would say is one of the best versions of the board. Certainly the Witchcraft version, which I didn't get to talk about in this video, but I might have talked about already. If not, I'll try to talk about it in the future, is like one of the other like really good versions of this board. Ooh, he actually rolls over. I mean, I think that makes sense, right? We only have a few rounds of this game left, so we would much rather just take like any combat charm that we can, especially on 19 HP. And then yeah, just a GS onto this Nora here, just because Nora's like, okay, I wonder if Milio's doing more damage than Nora here. Maybe that's a crazy thing to say. Nora didn't do that much, because Milio is benefiting from Preserver here, so I almost would have liked to take a Milio one here. Ooh, we got to continue to roll down, pick up some, man. We just need some kind of, yeah, like Prestivent at 5 HP, he's just looking for combat here from his charms. Sometimes that's something that can happen in this set, is you end up in charm jail and you're just rolling trying to find a combat charm and missing, which I think if there's one thing people will yap about this set, that will certainly be it. But you know, I mean, it's TFT, of course people are gonna yap. We end up actually dying to Setsuko here, and it is a top 4 with this board. But I certainly think we actually could have won out this lobby if we had a little bit more HP and like we had actually got a real combat charm there. I think real combat charm there, we probably kill Setsuko and we might go top 2. So wild game. But I really mostly just wanted to show off this version, this Preserver version of the comp, because I think it's something that is not on a lot of people's radars as much as I feel like if you go to tftacademy.com, they have the 4 Chrono version as like the default version of the comp. And I think really, I mean, it's just that this hasn't been like updated yet, you know, and I don't want people to get baited by this, because so much of what I've seen is people saying 4 Chrono is just not the way to play the comp. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Twitch channel, the links down below. Thanks for watching.